For everyone who has their first time with a happy fun time worker, how was it? Do you regret it? NSFW. Not me, but a friend of mine lost his virginity to a prostitute. He was thrilled when she told him she couldn't believe it was his first time, and he completely believed her. By the time she was finished, he'd fallen madly in love with her and attempted to hang out with her for a few weeks without paying. He couldn't afford it, until she told him to disappear. Horrible to watch, but he wouldn't listen to any of us when we told him he was wasting his time and risking some serious trouble for nothing. Stumbled into a massage parlor in Canada drunk. Thought it was the bar my friends were at. After I realized it wasn't the bar, lady behind counter, "Would you like a massage?" Me, "Sure." She was a kinda cute older lady. We talked pricing, she left and a large woman in spandex came in. Gave me a garbage tea massage, sprayed lubes on my slong like she was a line cook spraying butter on a grill. And started jacking. I tried to hold her boob but she wouldn't let me touch her lol. I came, she threw a towel on me and walked out. Wow, thanks dudes and dudettes. Glad my awkward handy brightened so many people's day. I lost my virginity to a prostitute at a massage parlor. I was 19 and living next to a naval base, so there were several massage parlors around. Went in and got a massage and handjob from a girl about my age. Went back the next week with more money, asked for a different girl since the first one was attractive but a bit cold and bored. The second girl was older, overweight, kind of rough looking, but a nice person. She could tell I was nervous, so she gave me a small glass of schnapps. She asked if I had done this before, I said no. Asked if I was a virgin, I said yes. She told me to relax and that she would take care of me. She gave me an actual real massage, then flipped me over, blowjob, then rolled on a condom and rode me to the finish. Afterwards, she slipped me her number and said if I wanted to see her again, to call her directly so she wouldn't have to split the money with the massage parlor. Overall good experience, no regrets. Deleted. Lost my virginity at a Nevada brothel when I was 25 to an older woman, my wife knows and doesn't care at all. I paid for 90 minutes, which was a mistake lol. I was very sleepy after it. Overall it was a very positive experience. I had a lot of hang-ups about being a virgin and I grew up a lot after the experience. Before I lost my virginity, I was obsessed with happy fun time and I would sexualize women, in my head, never allowed, all the time. But after I had sex, I realized happy fun time was no big deal and I became focused on finding a partner for love. I also stopped viewing women as hopeful sexual partners and instead viewed them as just people. I changed what I was looking for from a relationship and ended up in a deeply fulfilling marriage. I was a 31-year-old virgin that was tired of the stigma of being that way getting in the way of having confidence in myself and being able to talk to girls. I paid $900 or so for a prostitute near Reno at a brothel under the assumption I would get as much time as I needed since I was nervous and it was a slow weekday. After I was too nervous to get it up for the first half hour, I spent the second half hour freaking out that I was going to be the only guy ever to spend that kind of money to not have sex. After a total of an hour had gone by, she was asking me if I was secretly gay and hinting that I should just leave. It was the most humiliating experience of my life. I was seriously wanting to veer off the mountain roads on the way home after that awful experience. I'm not against the adult happy fun time worker industry at all and would actually vote to legalize it further in more places, but I would likely never try that again. With that being said, I am now a 32-year-old virgin who finally found love but am still having trouble getting it up. As soon as the topic of happy fun time comes up, erection immediately dies. I guess some of us are just fluffing cursed. And #X200B, edit, thank you to all the kind people that took time to respond to my story. I absolutely put the meow on a pedestal, as several others quoted. Pretty much all of my guy friends lost their virginity by 20 or so, and most of them relentlessly gave me garbage about it for years. I am a fairly easy-going guy, so I let it go most of the time, but eventually it got tiring because I started getting into my own head about it after college was over. I definitely did have a prawn addiction since I spent all of my 20s depressed and alone. I don't think I do anymore though, as when I started developing feelings for my significant other I could no longer look at prawn and get an erection, whereas simply touching her cheek would get me hard. It was as soon as she said she wanted to go further beyond making out and foreplay all the way to happy fun time that I started panicking. I keep in great communication with her about it after I failed to get it up our first try, and she is extremely understanding and doesn't want to force the issue. She doesn't even want me to do oral or use my hands on her because she doesn't want the whole focus to be on her. She wants to wait for me to be able to join, though sometimes I can get away with touching her a bit and love to hear her enjoying it. She will definitely be worth the wait. I don't have employment or insurance, long story, so I really don't want to go see a doc right now and have another prescription to pay for, nor do I want to force my first time using pills, so I am just going to enjoy spending time with her and getting more comfortable with foreplay and what she likes and doesn't like. As to the questions about the happy fun time worker, she attempted oral with a condom the first half hour, and after I started freaking out that I was gonna lose all that money for nothing, she suggested prawn, which made it worse because I have never watched that kind of stuff with another person, and I sat there tugging away in failure for the second half hour. Aside from asking me if I was gay, she wasn't really all that mean or anything, just surprisingly not understanding of the issue. I lost my virginity to an escort about a month ago, aged 25. It wasn't particularly good. I've thought about it a lot and I'm still not sure if I regret it or not. I regret it in some ways but not others. If anyone's interested, I decided to look into escorts because I didn't want to reach a point in life where I felt old and bitter because I missed out on a normal human experience. Around that time I had been reading a lot of incel-type posts about people who had given up and felt bitter, etc., and I didn't want to feel that way. I googled for escorts in my country, found an agency in a nearby town, but apparently it had shut down very recently. Eventually came across a pretty big comprehensive platform for self-advertising which contained reviews. Browsed that until I found a couple girls that served my area, messaged two of them and explained that I was a virgin and asked if that would be an issue for whatever reason. One replied fairly quickly that it wouldn't be an issue, no response from the other. After finishing work that Friday, I withdrew enough money for a 90 minutes, logged onto the website and booked a session for that night. I drank about 3 cans of cider waiting nervously. When the time came, she called me saying she couldn't quite find my place. I offered to stand outside and a couple minutes later a car drove by. She got out and I escorted her to my place. She smelled a bit of smoke and was about average in attractiveness, a little chubby, average height, perky chesty. Offered her a drink, she declined. I had another can of cider and I escorted her upstairs where she changed into some lingerie. She asked if I was nervous, never mentioned anything about my virginity. In hindsight I'm not sure if she remembered my initial message, or maybe she thought I'd be embarrassed and didn't want to bring it up. I said somewhat and she offered a massage. So I got undressed and accepted. It lasted about 15 minutes while we spoke about random things like work, what she does outside of escorting, what I do, traveling, etc. She was actually somewhat interesting to talk to. After the massage she tells me to flip over. I'm not particularly hard at this point, but she unrolls a condom and blows me until I get hard enough. She climbs on top and rides me for just over a minute or so until I finish. She cleans up and asks if I want her to leave or continue the massage. I ask for her to continue the massage for another few minutes, which she does. Then she gets dressed and gets ready to leave while asking me to leave a review. Ideally I would have wanted to go again since there was plenty of time, but I guess that wasn't an option and I didn't ask, so I just escorted her out. If I could redo it I would have tried to have expectations set more clearly beforehand, like whether or not it would be okay to have happy fun time multiple times in the session, etc. Oh, and I probably should have jerked off in the last 24 hours to last longer. I was overly awkward at first. But it turned out amazing. Japanese bath houses are the best. Ever have a woman wash you with her lathered up body? She cleaned my feet with her nipples. I want to go back now. I, 26 meters, wanted to try having happy fun time as a bottom for the first time. I slept with a trans happy fun time worker in Thailand. She took the condom off halfway through and while I think I noticed at the time, was far too scared, nervous and submissive to say anything until after she had finished. I panicked and started telling her how unsafe I felt and that it wasn't okay for her to have done that. She laughed at me and claimed she was clean, waving a picture of a month-old HIV test in my face as she left. I went to a clinic the next day to get PEP. I'm now 10 days into the 28-day regimen of taking daily pills that make me feel sick and drowsy. It's ruined my vacation, I have hardly slept out of worry, HIV doesn't show up in tests for at least a month, and I feel like a complete idiot for allowing myself to be in a position where I may have just contracted an incurable virus for the sake of one moment of sexual thrill. There are many reasons to get involved with happy fun time workers. If you decide that it's for you, please just be safe. An associate of mine lost his virginity to a happy fun time worker. He couldn't finish in the allotted time, so she gave him extra for free. He still couldn't manage it. He's rather proud that he bought the services of such an attractive lady, claiming she's better than other partners he'd seen others with. Furthermore, that he was worthy of their extra time. He also reckons it's his duty to seed the world, and when he can will go on a World Happy Fun Time Tour. Greater than an associate.